excited to have Alexis Merker with us today. She is a recent graduate from Oregon State University, earning her Honors Bachelor of Science in Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Sciences. Alongside her time as a Young Wavemaker, she's been wrapping up a second summer internship. She's always busy, always keeping
I
herself
am.
really very busy this summer as an Oregon Sea Grant Summer Scholar, working with the Oregon Coastal and Ocean Information Network, or OCOIN, I'm assuming is how you say the acronym.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. In her role with OCOIN, Alexis helps promote science-informed decision-making and long-term collaboration among researchers, policymakers, and coastal communities. Looking ahead, she's planning to pursue graduate school to explore the human dimensions of marine mammal or marine ecosystem conservation. And a fun fact about Alexis, or a couple fun facts, she loves to dance, and she also, I just learned, has 4 cats back home in Texas, and their names are Winter, Louie, Penny, and Peter Parker, which I just found very delightful. Um, for our audience today, as we go along, save your questions for the end, and you can drop those in the chat or in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and I will ask your questions to Alexis at the end of her talk. Without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Alexis Merker. Over to you, Alexis.
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for joining for my Cape Perpetua Collaborative Young Wavemakers presentation titled Students in the Sea, Assessing Interest in Marine Conservation in Oregon. So to start, I'd like to introduce myself and the project that I did with Cape Perpetua Collaborative as a young wavemaker. This project has direct results for Oregon State University, its student population, as well as Cape Perpetua Collaborative's outreach efforts. To conclude my presentation, I'll explain what those implications and benefits are to Cape Perpetua Collaborative. So a little bit about myself. My name is Alexis Merker. As mentioned before, I have my Honors Bachelor of Science in Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Sciences from Oregon State University. As an honors student, I had the privilege of completing my undergraduate honors thesis on conflict management relative to Oregon's marine reserves. This is under the mentorship of Dr. Jenna Sullivan-Stuck from the Integrative Biology Department at Oregon State University, and it was my first introduction as an out-of-state student from Texas to the Oregon Marine Reserve System. Furthermore, as a fisheries, wildlife, and conservation sciences student, I had the privilege of expanding on my research interests on the human dimensions of marine ecosystem and marine mammal conservation. For instance, I had the opportunity to complete my exploratory internship requirement with Cape Perpetua Collaborative as a young wavemaker. Within my young wavemaker position, I had the opportunity of working and collaborating with students to assess their interest in marine conservation in Oregon and their interest in getting involved with these efforts. Now moving on to the research focus of my project. So as you can see here within the left-hand side, I love marine biology. As an out-of-state student from Texas, I was in a landlocked part of Texas. However, my passion for the ocean and returning one day remained. I had the opportunity of studying 2 summers ago, so not this summer, but last summer at Hatfield Marine Science Center, where I had the opportunity to engage in hands-on research regarding Oregon's biodiversity. Secondarily, as a senior at Oregon State University, as I mentioned before, I completed my honors undergraduate thesis on Oregon's marine reserves. So my research focus within this project, with the new knowledge and the experiences that I gained both from Hatfield and as a student at Oregon State University, was to assess students' general interest in marine conservation, but also their interest in getting involved with these efforts along the coast. So this could include internships, Cape Perpetua Collaborative's Young Wavemakers program, and volunteering. I completed my research at Oregon State University, located in Corvallis, Oregon. This campus is 48 miles from the coast and approximately 75 miles from Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve. It also has a student population of approximately 24,188 students as of 2023, and its most popular undergraduate majors include computer science, business administration, and psychology. A fun fact about Oregon State University is that many of its students love going to the Memorial Union, located in the central hub of campus. In the Memorial Union, there is not only a delicious coffee shop that I would get my daily chai from before class, but also a comfortable living room to study with friends and a hall of flags honoring the diversity of international students at Oregon State University. Each of the flags you can see here is an example country from where these students came from to attend Oregon State. So my research was focused in this hall of flags. I would conduct an intercept survey from February 7th to 19th for approximately 30 minutes to an hour every day. To ensure randomized sampling, I would go up to every other table located in this hallway that expands past this picture and ask one of the two students located at that table if they would mind taking my survey. So this survey both has a qualitative and a quantitative section. First, starting with the qualitative section, I would ask students about their student demographics. So this included their student year, what their major specific college was, and where they grew up. Secondarily, I would ask them to recall the last visit that they had to the Oregon coast. I would ask them when did they take that visit. So the options were within the last year, last month, week, and then I also extended it to the past 5 years as well. I also asked them along these questions, what did they like about where they visited and where they visited? Third, in this quantitative section, I would ask students to assess their interest in learning/getting involved with marine conservation in Oregon. I also gave a specific highlight to Oregon's marine reserve system. As mentioned before, this definition, or as mentioned before, it went along the lines that Brianna mentioned earlier. So this definition was Oregon has 5 marine reserves. These are areas set aside for scientific research and conservation. There's no extraction of any kind, for example, fishing, drilling, and development allowed in these areas. There are also local conservation groups, such as Cape Perpetua Collaborative, that raise awareness about these marine reserves through educational events and public programming. So then I would ask students to recall and answer honestly what their interest was in getting involved with these groups. For example, the 3 main opportunities that I highlighted related to Cape Perpetua Collaborative and its external partners included internships, professional development opportunities, and volunteering. For an example of internships, I would like to highlight my time as a Oregon Sea Grant Summer Scholar as an example of an internship, and my time as a Young Wavemaker with Cape Perpetua Collaborative for professional development. And then finally, my time as a community outreach leader with Ocean 11, the Marine Club at Oregon State University, where I had the privilege of completing routine beach cleanups at the beautiful Oregon coast. So within the intercept surveys I conducted from February 7th to the 19th, I surveyed 37 students in total. Out of these 37 students, 18 of them, or 49%, were from Oregon. However, the other 19%, or approximately 51% of them, grew up out of state. The most common out of state students came from Washington and Idaho. Out of these students that I surveyed, 59% of them had visited the coast in the past year. A lot of the students frequently mentioned the exciting shops at the boardwalk in Newport, Oregon, the beautiful scenery, and I took this picture at Devil's Punch Bowl, and then the charismatic megafauna, such as this cute little sea lion. Out of these 37 students that I surveyed, I also interviewed students from a majority of the colleges at Oregon State University. So this includes agricultural sciences, earth, ocean, and atmospheric sciences, education, forestry, health, science, and pharmacy. However, the top three major specific colleges were business, with 9 students I surveyed being from College of Business, 7 students were from the College of Engineering, and then 7 students were from the College of Liberal Arts. What was really exciting to me was to see that students outside of environmental science-based majors were really still passionate about being involved in marine conservation in Oregon. For example, out of the 3 main top colleges, engineering was the top college that students indicated that they were very interested in marine conservation out of these top 3. Out of the 37 students I conducted intercept surveys with, there were 12 that were sophomores, 11 that were freshmen, and the remaining of those students were 3rd to 5th years with 2 graduate students included. I would also like to highlight that there is a difference between knowledge of marine conservation in Oregon and the interest that these students had in these efforts. For example, while 23 out of 37 students, or 62%, did not know about the Oregon Marine Reserves prior to the intercept survey, all of them were still very attentive and smiling and maintaining eye contact while I gave that definition, and they were very intrigued to learn more. Furthermore, 19 out of, or 58% of the total sample indicated that they were either very interested in or already involved in general marine conservation efforts in Oregon. So it is clear that students are interested in getting involved with marine conservation in Oregon, according to my results. 17 out of these 37 students were interested in getting involved in some capacity. Out of these 17 students, there were 9 that were at least a little bit interested in internships. There were 12 that were interested at least a little bit in professional development, and 16 students that were at least a little bit interested in volunteering. Out of those that were very interested in getting involved, that was the highest for volunteering, with a total of 9 students indicating that they were very interested and would like more information about volunteering efforts that students could have at Oregon State relative to the coast. Furthermore, I'd also like to mention that 9 of these 17 students had visited the coast within the last year, indicating that there is an importance between getting students to the coast and their interest in getting involved. So therefore, just based on my own personal experience, talking with these students and my experience being able to attend classes on the coast in Newport, it is clear that not only myself, within my own interest, is very interested in marine conservation, but also these students that I talked to wanted to learn more about how they could get these hands-on research and learning opportunities relative to the coast. So these 2 pictures are of Yucona Head and Boiler Bay, 2 locations that I had the opportunity of conducting research as a student at Hatfield Marine Science Center. Again, not this summer, but last summer. So now, because it is very clear that students are interested in marine conservation and want to learn more about how to get involved, I would like to then segue into recommendations for Cape Perpetua Collaborative on ways that they can benefit in their outreach materials to college students, including those at Oregon State University. First, I'd like to mention Handshake. Handshake is very similar to LinkedIn in the fact that it offers internships or highlights internships, jobs, and professional development opportunities for students. There's also plenty of other opportunities on Handshake, including a way for Cape Perpetua Collaborative to network and collaborate with these students that are interested in potentially being, in my position, a young wavemaker. Furthermore, Cape Perpetua Collaborative can also benefit from the numerous career-based events that are at Oregon State University. For example, Cape Perpetua Collaborative can participate in major-specific career fairs, including those from the College of Science and my own particular college, Agricultural Sciences. Secondarily, I would advise Cape Perpetua Collaborative to be explicitly clear about the timeline, responsibilities, and other important details that are involved with being a young wavemaker. So an example document that could be created is located on the left of your screen, and it includes a role description, responsibilities and end products, and the time length for being a young wavemaker. Information is very important because some of the students that I talked to either indicated that they were about to graduate or had another internship lined up. So unfortunately, they did not believe that they had the time to be a young wavemaker. However, I would also like to mention that in creating such document, hopefully these students would see that maybe they do have the time, and if not, then no worries. But having this information about where you can be a young wavemaker, for example, I'm completing this presentation in Texas, and furthermore, with the time length of being a young wavemaker and my time as an Oregon Sea Grant Summer Scholar, it is possible to balance two internships if the student is really interested in being a young wavemaker. Third, I would advise Cape Perpetua Collaborative and its outreach materials to showcase the beautiful and biodiverse Cape Perpetua. For example, there are tide pool ambassadors that can lead visitors directly to these tide pools and just get these hands-on opportunities that Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve offers. As I mentioned before, a lot of the students who had visited the coast within the last year also mentioned the beautiful scenery, so this would be something that would attract these students. In addition, I would advise Cape Perpetua Collaborative to highlight the many academic and professional development opportunities that are related to Oregon's Marine Reserve System. For example, in addition to my undergraduate honors thesis, I also completed classes 2 summers ago at Hatfield Marine Science Center. For example, one of those classes was an opportunity for me and other students to visit in person at Cape Perpetua Collaborative or Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve and see the beautiful ocean and get to just engage in those hands-on opportunities related to the Oregon coast. In order to get these students from Oregon State University, located in Corvallis, Oregon, to Newport, I would also advise Cape Perpetua Collaborative to highlight the Coast to Valley Shuttle. For instance, as a student that did not have transportation, I would also benefit from this shuttle, and it is free to students, or approximately $5 for those that do not have a ticket. So this shuttle is just a great way of getting students connected to these hands-on opportunities, whether it's research or just learning about the Oregon coast. Furthermore, the Coastal Valley Shuttle, since it takes students from Corvallis to Newport, is also a way for Cape Perpetua Collaborative to collaborate with other community teams that are at these different marine reserves. For example, Cape Perpetua Collaborative could collaborate with those closer to Otter Rock Marine Reserve, which is located in Newport, Oregon. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. I would like to highlight Katie Baird-Nalvin, Brianna Bowman, and Talena King from Cape Perpetua Collaborative, and Shaylin Pack from Oregon State University, and in particular, she's the internship coordinator that helped me secure this position. Thank you all for listening, and I'm open for any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Alexis. We loved hearing your results and the work you did for the Cape Perpetua Collaborative is really valuable to us. So we just extend our gratitude to you for doing this work for us. It's really informative and really useful. So Alexis also, in addition to this presentation, she wrote a very thorough and very professional report summarizing all of her results. And we are definitely going to be incorporating those results into some of our decisions on how we engage with students from the university. So again, thank you for doing such a great job with this project and getting such good information for us to use. We have
Thank you.
we have a couple of questions in our chat from
Perfect.
our
I'm all ears.
attendees. So the first question we have is from Tommy Swearingen, Swearingen.
Swearingen, I believe.
Swearingen.
Apologies if I'm also mispronouncing
Apologize.
it, but
Apologies, Tommy, if we've mispronounced that. He asks, what are your graduate school plans? Your
Hmm.
major or a professor that you're planning to work with?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Is following these two internships, I am pursuing graduate school. I'm really excited to start those applications to Oregon State University, to the University of British Columbia, and other universities, including possibly those in Washington. I do not have any faculty currently picked out, but I am super excited to start that next step in approximately a couple of weeks once I end the Young Wavemakers internship and then also my time as an OCOIN scholar.
Great. Those are all great options. So that's an
Thank
exciting
you.
time to have all these potential directions you could go in next. Do you know what specific, I know in the bio that I read for you, you said you were looking into human dimensions, possibly with
Yes,
marine
yeah.
mammals and
Yeah, so
conservation?
that has really guided how I've selected these colleges. And I've also, one of my mentors from OCOIN is a graduate from the Marine Resources Management program at Oregon State University, and getting to talk with him about how my interests in the human dimensions of marine ecosystem and marine mammal conservation can intersect with a program such as the MRM program for short at Oregon State. I also, as a undergraduate honors student, had the opportunity to collaborate with those from the ODFW Marine Reserves program. And for example, Sarah Clay, and she just gave some great advice on UBC possibly being a graduate school for me. So that kind of relates back to the general interest that I have in, you know, just continuing to work in the human dimensions sector. And I've really just benefited from this project too, because it's really just reinforced my passion and my belief for collaborating with students and other community members to raise and hopefully allow them to see that there are ways for them to get involved in protecting our beautiful coast.
Amazing. I can tell whatever specific little niche you go in terms of human dimensions, you're going to do a great job. And it sounds like you have lots of great contacts and potential avenues you can go down. So we're really excited to see where you go next.
Thank
Uh,
you. I appreciate it.
I I have a question from Katie.
Oh, hi,
So
Katie.
um, well, she says great job, and she also says woohoo, MRM. Shout out to that. If you were to do this project again, is there
Mhm.
anything you would change? Would you do
Mm,
the collection or anything else differently?
yeah. Let's see. I gotta think about that one for a second. I have some ideas, but I think the first idea would definitely be to expand my audience reach. For example, I was talking to Brianna before this.
Brianna, yeah.
Brianna, okay. Thank you for pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I was talking with her about it before, and just was mentioning that the Oregon State University Library is also another location that I'd love to interview or survey students from, just because it is such a popular spot on campus for students to study, and because the first floor is conversation level loudness, so I'd be able to, conduct my surveys there. And also, I think another thing that I might benefit from or expand upon and or expand upon would be to spend more time talking with students. So not just 30 minutes to an hour every day, but being able to dedicate more of my time to talking with students. I just really loved getting to meet with these students and getting to make these new connections and help bring students closer to the Oregon coast.
Yeah, those sound like great improvements. It's always good to think about your methods and think about whether, there's a way to capture uh, a wider, broader sample of people. And yeah, I think that that would be a great way to go from your experience of being a student at OSU. Sounds like the
Mhm.
library is a great location, and love to hear that you just love talking to the students. That's wonderful. Um, we have a couple more questions. Linda Yoder asks, "Is Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve the largest on the coast?" And the answer is yes.
I thought so.
It
I was like, to my understanding for my undergraduate honors thesis, yes.
is.
I was like, unless I'm crazy and something expanded, then it still is Cape Perpetua.
Yep, it's still Cape Perpetua. So yeah, we are the largest marine reserve on the coast.
Yeah, yeah,
I am pulling this number out of my head, but I believe it's about 14 square miles, something like that. Don't quote me
yeah. And I
though.
believe, unless I'm mistaken, that Otter Rock is the smallest.
Believe so.
But
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah. But
Yeah. And
yes, to answer
then
your question.
and then Julia Cardis asked, "What is the most impactful thing Cape Perpetua Collaborative can do to increase engagement with students?
Mhm.
And did your intercept survey ask if respondents were aware of Cape Perpetua Collaborative, not just the Marine Reserve?"
That's a good question. So to answer the first, in terms of what might be the most impactful for students, I think just getting Cape Perpetua Collaborative on campus, talking to students, would be a great step forward. I would advise Cape Perpetua Collaborative, as I mentioned before, to really benefit not only from the virtual platform of Handshake, but also just engage in the multiple career fairs that are at Oregon State. For example, as a leader for Ocean 11, the Marine Club at Oregon State, there was a research learning opportunities committee that hosted the first marine-based career fair at Oregon State. And there were many different partners at this career fair, including Sea and Shore Solutions and other just opportunities for students to get that career based experience or just a way for them to get even volunteering opportunities. So I think just getting Cape Perpetua Collaborative on campus, and for example, at those career fairs would be a great next step.
Yeah, I think
And
that
then,
makes, oh,
no, you're
I
good.
was just gonna say that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great recommendation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then to answer your second question about whether or not the survey asked students if they were familiarized with Cape Perpetua Collaborative itself. While the survey did not ask that in particular, it did for each of those opportunities. Something that I forgot to mention was that I did give a brief definition of what internships, Young Wavemakers program, and volunteering could all look like. So
Mhm.
I did go into detail about the Young Wavemakers program with respect to Cape Perpetua Collaborative.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, well, I think maybe Talena and Jamie and I need to take that coast to valley shuttle over to the Corvallis campus and
Definitely.
and
Come
talk to
visit.
some students about Cape Perpetua Collaborative. Talena says,
That'd be
yes, we
great.
do. Awesome. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, so Katie says, Cape Perpetua Collaborative party on the shuttle. Yeah, let's do it. Road
Oh yeah,
trip.
count me in.
We gotta experience the shuttle too. We gotta see what it's all about. So,
Exactly.
but thank you again, Alexis. Really, we are very grateful for your work and your this information that you collected for us, and you just did a really wonderful job with it. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for having me.
of course, and thank you everyone for your questions and for attending today. And we are going to have another Young Wavemakers talk in the near future with Aaliyah Larson. She's another one of our interns. She'll be talking about the biodiversity differences in tide pools inside the Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve compared to outside the Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve. She's been doing that work for 2 summers now, so it'll be interesting to see what her results are. And the end of the summer is around the corner, but we still have lots of things going on. So please check our new fancy website for our events coming up, such as a bunch of tide pool tours and some other things that will be added to our scheduling as the summer winds down and school year starts again. And again, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you at our next Young Wavemakers talk. So thank you, everyone.
Thank
and
you.
have a great rest of